Today we're building something a little more complicated than the projects we've previously tackled on this channel. This time it's a premium class observation coach for the shovel and skillet dinner train. Built from a brand break kit, when it's finished, this will be the most luxurious coach on the S.E.S.R railway. The idea for this actually came from my friend, Steam Shadow 45. He told me he was designing an observation coach in Lego based on the one that we have at the works on the S.E.S.R at S.E.S.R. And that got the gears in my head turning. Before long, I was sketching out my own version for the S.E.S.R. There are a few key differences between the coach at S.E.S.R and the one we're building today. The S.E.S.R coach is narrow gauge. If this were a full-size prototype, this would run on 750mm track or 2'5" gauge. The second big difference is the rear end design. Instead of a balcony, this coach has a large observation window, a bit like what you see on some Thailand railway coaches, and similar to the type of coaches I pulled when I had a chance to take the regulator on Tom Rolt. Now, before this coach was revealed, there was a lot of speculation in the community about what livery it would carry. I kept the colours completely secret until the last moment. Some of my favourite guesses were blood and custard, chocolate and custard, frappe brown and custard, and even royal blue. Honestly, seeing everyone come together and speculate about it was one of the nicest parts of the project. Before we start building, I should explain a little bit about the shovel and skillet lore. This service is inspired by the famous evening dinner train on the S.E.S.R, known as Skolmingstorget. On the S.E.S.R, our version runs with wooden coaches in different colours. At the front is a support brake van, painted in mid-Sodor blue, where headboards and lamps are carried. Is our blue balcony coach, followed by its green non-balcony counterpart. And at the back is this coach. But the most unusual part of this service is how the food is prepared. Instead of a traditional kitchen, the cooking is done on the shovel. The shovel is thrust deep into the fire until it glows red hot. Then it's blasted clean with the hose before being loaded up with dinner food. Meanwhile, the rest of the meal is being prepared back in the shed kitchen. The observation coach we're building today will serve as the first class coach, reserved for the wealthiest passengers, and occasionally used for private parties and special events. Unlike most of the builds in this series, this kit is being built straight out of the box. No modifications this time, except for a lamp iron. The only changes I've made were leaving off the steps because they're a bit flimsy for my liking. I'm also skipping the decals since I've never really been a huge fan of using them. But with that explained, let's get started. As always, we start with the frames. It's a good place to begin, because once the base structure is finished, you can simply just drop the other components into place. Fitting the sole bars and headstock was a quick, straightforward process. For it's like how effective this frame design is. The kit includes 2 axle slots, the edge position for 45mm and the inner 32mm. Once the frame assembly was complete, I glued it onto the floor panel and added the sidebars to finish the chassis structure. Next up was the paint job. The first part to meet the spray can was the flooring, which received a coat of frappe brown. I also painted the interior panels brown to give the coach a warmer, more traditional wood feel, and it was at this point I finally decided on the livery. Originally the plan was royal blue, but when I went looking for the spray paint, it had mysteriously vanished. So instead I decided just to go for blood and custard. Masking tape went across the body to separate colours. Sprayed the lower half first with red paint. Red paint so dark, however, that when I showed someone a photo of it, they genuinely thought I had spilled blood all over the coach. Unfortunately, the painting process turned into a bit of a nightmare. The red paint was far too thin, which meant I had to absolutely drown the parts in spray paint before the colour properly showed. By the end of it, I had emptied an entire spray can onto the coach, and it started to feel like plastic. When I tried applying the cream onto the upper section, The red kept bleeding through the masking tape, forcing me to repaint sections again and again. At one point, I nearly gave up and just painted the entire coach red. Eventually, after weeks of trying, and I say weeks because it was so cold outside that it kept messing up the paint, the livery finally came together. Once the paint had finally dried, I glued the 4 main body panels together. These panels also hold the windows and other internal fittings, so getting them aligned was properly important. Unfortunately, I didn't film this part as it was long and fairly tedious, and it also included building the onboard bathroom, which, fortunately, had to be scrapped because things kept falling off, no matter how much glue I applied. Once everything had cured, I brought the coach inside and began the final assembly. Interior furniture went in next, along with a few little details, including some adult soda bottles. Yes, that's definitely what they are. Definitely not vodka. Once the paint was fully dry, the roof was glued onto the coach body. This took some careful clamping and a fair bit of patience, but everything eventually lined up perfectly. After that, I applied a coat of clear varnish, which helped protect the paint and improved the look of the slightly cloudy plexiglass windows. Finally, I attached the lamp iron at the front of the coach, positioned between 2 observation windows. And with that, the premium class observation coach was complete. Now, there was only one thing left to do. Take it out on the railway and test it before it goes out the shovel and skillet. If the test goes well, this coach will officially join the service, carrying the railway's most prestigious passengers in proper S.E.S.R luxury. In the next video, we build Connie's Festiniog support coach.